It's December 6th, and you're looking at a live view of Falcon 9 on launch pad 39A at Kennedy Space Center, and we're about to launch a Dragon spacecraft. Liftoff is targeted at 11:17 a.m. Eastern Time. My name is Andy Tran, and I'm a production supervisor here at SpaceX. It's great to be here with you to cover our 21st commercial resupply mission to the International Space Station for NASA. On screen and on top of Falcon 9 is an upgraded version of our Dragon vehicle. We've seen this new vehicle fly people twice now. The first was on our Demonstration 2 mission earlier this year with NASA astronauts Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley, and most recently on the Crew 1 mission with the four NASA astronauts who are currently still living and working on the space station. For today's mission, instead of people, we'll be transporting cargo, and this will be the first flight of cargo in our upgraded Dragon. It's worth highlighting that all CRS flights going forward will fly from pad 39A, and late cargo load will be done through the crew access arm. To this day, Dragon remains the only spacecraft currently flying that's capable of transporting significant amounts of cargo to and from the Earth. Once Dragon reaches its destination, it will be the first time that we have two Dragons docked at the orbiting laboratory at the same time. Between Crew Dragon and the cargo resupply missions, at this time, we are anticipating that there will be a Dragon spacecraft attached to the International Space Station at all times throughout 2021. And one final milestone to highlight today. If all goes according to plan, today's launch will mark the 100th successful mission for Falcon 9. So a lot of excitement ahead in the next hour. We are targeting an instantaneous launch window, currently at T-minus 13 minutes and counting, with all systems currently go at both our Kennedy Space Center and SpaceX Mission Control in Hawthorne, California. So with that, let's take a closer look at today's Falcon 9 and Dragon spacecraft. This is going to be SpaceX's 24th launch this year, and as I mentioned, this is the cargo configuration of our new Dragon spacecraft. This version of Dragon is designed for up to 5 flights, while the previous version of Dragon can only support 3. Dragon was also designed from the beginning to be reused, so we are hoping to refly this vehicle again in the future. To date, 9 of our CRS missions have launched flight-proven Dragons. Today, we'll be delivering approximately 6,400 pounds of cargo to the space station, including critical materials to support dozens of science and research investigations that will occur on board the orbiting laboratory. We'll go into a little bit more detail on some of that research later on in today's webcast. This version of Dragon has 20% more volume and double the powered lockers. And in order to fly more cargo, we've made a few modifications to the spacecraft from the vehicle used on our Demo 2 and Crew 1 missions. Since there are no people on board, we've removed the Super Draco engines, which not only power Crew Dragon, but will also carry astronauts away from Falcon 9 to safety in the unlikely event of an emergency on the pad or during ascent. We've also removed 2 trunk fins used only for abort scenarios, and in the pressurized section, the seats and crew displays have been swapped for cargo racks. Lastly, the environmental control systems has also been reduced in both size and complexity. And while this Dragon will be flying for the first time, the Falcon 9 first stage, which is the bottom 2/3 of the vehicle, is a flight-proven booster. Today's mission, CRS-21, will be its 4th flight. It previously supported the Demo 2, Anasis 2, and most recently, the Starlink mission in October. To date, we've had 99 successful Falcon 9 launches. 42 of those were on reflown boosters. And today, we'll be attempting to recover the first stage on our drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You, stationed in the Atlantic Ocean. You can see it on screen right now. And for those keeping count, if we do successfully land Falcon 9 today, this will mark our 68th booster landing and the 35th successful landing for our drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You. And finally, above the first stage is our second stage. It has a single Merlin vacuum or MVAC engine, which ignites after the first stage separates. The second stage is what will carry Dragon to its intended orbit, allowing the spacecraft to eventually rendezvous with the International Space Station. It's T-minus 10 minutes. and 20 seconds and counting. The SpaceX team is working no significant issues. For propellant, the go, no-go poll was conducted at the T-minus 38-minute mark, and propellant loading began shortly after that, around the T-minus 35-minute mark. At this point, RP-1 fuel is completely loaded on the second stage and almost done on the first stage. For liquid oxygen, it's currently underway on both stages and should complete around the T-minus 2-minute mark. We're also loading helium gas into both stages. Falcon 9 uses helium as a pressurant to backfill the propellant tanks, as liquid oxygen and RP-1 are consumed by the Merlin engines during ascent. For Dragon, we've also began its startup sequence at the T-minus 35-minute mark when it coordinated timing with Falcon 9. It's currently undergoing vehicle health checks with the next big step just before liftoff when the Dragon transitions to internal battery power. The range is standing by and ready to support. As for weather, a bit better than yesterday. We're looking at a 40% probability of violation with the primary weather constraint of thick clouds. There may also be some precipitation in the thick clouds that we are monitoring and will continue to monitor all the way until T0. Other than that, with the launch team, Falcon 9, Dragon, and range reporting green, and at T-minus 9 minutes and counting, all systems are go for launch of CRS-21 today. Since SpaceX began flying Dragon in 2012, our vehicles have delivered some really cool and vital scientific experiments to the orbiting laboratory, and today's mission is no different. Dragon will be carrying dozens of research payloads to the space station, including research from the National Laboratory, operated by the Center for the Advancement of Science in Space, or CASIS. There are more than 20 payloads sponsored by NASA and the National Lab on today's mission, representing more than 50 science experiments, all of which are intended to benefit life on Earth. Let's take a few minutes and look at some of the groundbreaking research from CASIS that will be aboard the CRS-21 mission.
SpaceX's 21st Commercial Resupply Services mission to the International Space Station is ready to launch from Kennedy Space Center. This mission will bring critical cargo, research, and technology demonstration payloads to the orbiting laboratory. The ISS National Laboratory is proud to sponsor more than 15 payloads on this mission, representing dozens of experiments to further fundamental and applied research through space-based inquiry and to engage the next generation of researchers and explorers. Here's a quick look at some of the payloads on SpaceX CRS-21. 3 projects on this mission are funded by the National Institutes of Health through its joint multi-year Tissue Chips in Space initiative with the ISS National Lab. Tissue chips are small devices engineered to grow human cells on an artificial scaffold to model the structure and function of human tissues. Studying tissue chips in space may accelerate pathways for understanding disease and developing new treatments for use on Earth and beyond. In 2019, a team of researchers from the University of California, San Diego sent a brain organoid model to space for the first time ever to study neurological diseases in microgravity. Based on findings from that initial investigation, the team is launching a second payload to further examine how microgravity affects the survival, metabolism, and cognitive function of brain cells in an organoid model. Bristol Myers Squibb, a leading pharmaceutical company, is launching a protein crystallization investigation aimed at improving drug formulation and delivery for patients on Earth. In this experiment, the team will study the crystallization of monoclonal antibodies in space to improve their crystallization back on the ground. Monoclonal antibodies are lab-created proteins designed to interact with specific targets called antigens and are used in the treatment of several diseases, including cancer. Did you know that more than 7 million tomato seeds have been sent to low Earth orbit and exposed to microgravity? That's right. Tomatosphere is an education program in which students and teachers around the country compare the germination rates of space-flown seeds and Earth-based seeds. The program provides students with a glimpse into how the unique microgravity environment of the ISS affects plant growth. Speaking of education, this mission includes more than 30 experiments from the Student Spaceflight Experiments Program, which provides yearly opportunities for students and communities around the world to leverage the space station for research using mixed-stick testing tubes. Investigations from this year's participating students span a variety of research areas, including the physical and life sciences, as well as plant biology. Since its inception in 2010, the program has engaged more than 125,000 students in space-based projects. Many of the investigations on this mission build on previously flown experiments. Such research serves to advance the knowledge gained through space-based inquiry, delivering value to our nation and driving a robust, sustainable, and scalable market in low Earth orbit. We look forward to this launch and the important research that will be completed on our nation's orbiting laboratory in the coming months. To learn more about all ISS National Lab sponsored research on this mission, please visit issnationallab.org.
This is just a small sample of the dozens of research experiments that Dragon will take up to the space station. For more information on the exciting microgravity research happening on the orbiting lab, you can follow @space_station on Twitter. We are currently under contract with NASA to resupply the space station through 2024 as part of a second commercial resupply services contract award. These missions will use the new version of Dragon, which can fly both cargo and people. And today's mission marks the first flight under this new contract, and we're super excited to continue this partnership with NASA. Flying NASA astronauts and helping keep the space station fully operational is a top priority for us here at SpaceX. We are just past T-minus 4 minutes and continuing to count down for an 11:17 a.m. Eastern launch to the International Space Station. In these last few minutes, Falcon 9 is performing final health checks on its primary communications, avionics, and propulsion systems in preparation for flight. Just to give you a recap of what's been happening, at the T-minus 7-minute mark, we began engine chillin'. This is where we inject a small amount of super chilled liquid oxygen to prepare the 9 first-stage engine turbopumps for full propellant flow during flight. You might hear the callouts that engines are sufficiently chilled later on in the countdown. At the T-minus 4-minute mark, the transporter erector, which is that large truss structure next to Falcon 9, began to retract away from Falcon 9 in preparation for liftoff. In about a minute around the T-minus 2-minute mark, liquid oxygen should complete loading on the second stage, and that will be the last of our propellant loading. At the T-minus 1-minute mark, Falcon 9 flight computers will enter startup mode and guide the rocket through the rest of the countdown. Shortly after that, the SpaceX launch erector will give the go for launch, and finally at T0, the rocket is released from the hold down clamps for liftoff, after which the strong back fully retracts away from the rocket, clearing way for Falcon 9's ascent. Checkouts of the second stage thrust vector control actuators are also underway. You often hear people refer to this as an engine wiggle test. This is when we move the thrust nozzle slightly to make sure that the guidance hardware is a go for flight. We do the exact same checkouts on the engines for the first stage, except that occurs just seconds before ignition. Dragon is also performing its final health checkouts to make sure all of its primary systems are ready for its rendezvous with the space station. The range remains a go for launch, and whether we are still continuing to monitor. Let's listen into the nets for the last few minutes of terminal count. And you can see that we have some white clouds starting to form around Falcon 9. This is completely normal for us at this stage in the countdown. That is liquid oxygen condensing when it meets the warmer ambient airs of Florida. And we've just passed the T-minus 1 minute mark. Both stages are beginning to pressurize for launch. reaching the T-minus 30-second mark. All systems are go for launch. This is mission CRS-21, the last mission of Dragon for this year. T plus 50 seconds into flight. Falcon 9 is carrying our upgraded Dragon vehicle to low Earth orbit. In a few seconds, we'll be passing max Q, which is the moment where the vehicle will experience the highest amount of aerodynamic pressures. And we've just passed max Q. Coming up are 3 events in rapid succession. The first event is MECO, or main engine cutoff. This is where all 9 of the Merlin engines on the Falcon 9 first stage will shut down in preparation for the second event, which is stage separation. This is where the first and second stage will separate from one another. And a few seconds after that, we'll have a second engine start 1, where the Merlin vacuum engine on the second stage will ignite to boost Dragon to low Earth orbit. Again, that is main engine cutoff, stage separation, followed by second engine start on the second stage. Main engine cutoff should happen around the T plus 2 minute and 31 second mark. And you just saw on screen, successful main engine cutoff, stage separation, and ignition of our second stage. So on screen right now, you have 2 different views. On the right-hand side is a view of our second stage Merlin vacuum engine. On top of that second stage is our Dragon vehicle. And on the left-hand side is a view from the top of our first stage looking downward. The first stage will continue its descent back towards Earth and attempt landing on our drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You, in a few minutes, while the second stage continues to take our Dragon vehicle to low Earth orbit. If you are just joining us, this is the 21st commercial resupply mission for the International Space Station for NASA. This is also SpaceX's 24th launch this year. And we're flying a cargo configuration of our new Dragon spacecraft. Now looking on the left-hand side of your screen, the first stage, in order to make its way back to our drone ship, the first stage executes a series of 2 burns. The first burn is the entry burn, where 3 of the Merlin engines will reignite. This helps to slow the stage down as it re-enters the upper parts of the Earth's atmosphere. The second and final burn is the landing burn. This is a single engine burn that brings the vehicle speed down rapidly in order to land on our drone ship. The first of those two burns, the stage 1 entry burn, should happen around the T plus 6.5 minute mark. Until then, we get some really cool views of both the first and second stage. You notice that our grid fins on the first stage have also deployed. Those help to guide the first stage back during descent. You can also see some periodic plumes of gas, that's nitrogen, coming from our attitude control systems. And those help to orient the first stage as it continues to fall back towards Earth. And there it goes. We're about a minute away from the first of these two burns on the first stage. And just checking in with the second stage, everything seems to be looking nominal.
Trajectory nominal.
That engine that you see on the right-hand side can produce over 220,000 pounds of thrust in a vacuum. That single engine is what is carrying Dragon to low Earth orbit right now. And we're just a few seconds away from our re-entry burn on the first stage. Watch for those 3 Merlin engines to relight and slow the stage down.
Stage 1, entry burn startup.
And there's our entry burn. Again, that's 3 engines slowing the first stage down before it hits that dense part of the Earth's atmosphere.
Trajectory nominal.
Stage 1, entry burn shutdown.
And we are done with the first of 2 burns on the first stage. The second burn, the landing burn, will happen at the T plus 8 minute and 18 second mark. That second burn should last for about 25 seconds. And as that burn is happening, we should also be having another major event for the second stage, second engine cutoff. We'll see if we can hear that as the landing burn begins. As we wait for this landing burn, this is going to be our 68th attempt to recover our first stage, and we are going to be attempting to land on our drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean. Of course, I still love you.
Second stage and terminal guidance.
Stage 1, landing burn startup.
And we got audio confirmation
STS is saved.
that the first stage has begun its landing burn. Everything's looking great on the second stage right now.
Stage 1, landing leg deploy.
There's a view from our drone ship. Here comes Falcon 9.
Pico.
Stage 1,
And Falcon 9 has landed once again. That is the 68th successful first stage recovery. This mission also marks the 100th successful flight of Falcon 9. It's also the 35th time we've landed successfully on our drone ship. Of course, I still love you. During that landing, we did get confirmation of second stage, second engine cutoff, also confirmation of a good orbit. And second stage now has one last major task, commanding separation of Dragon just a few minutes from now. And we should have a video of Dragon separation from the top of the second stage. It should give us a nice view into Dragon's unpressurized cargo trunk area. This is an animation to show where each of the stages are currently in this mission. The second stage has turned off its Merlin vacuum engine and is currently coasting, awaiting for Dragon separation. There's a view of the unpressurized section of Dragon. Now, for a typical CRS mission, after Dragon deploys, we would be waiting for solar array deployment, but as a reminder, this is our new Dragon vehicle, and it has solar panels mounted along the surface of the trunk. You might be able to see it once Dragon separates, but those solar panels are already activated and producing power. We are about 45 seconds away from Dragon separation. Again, we are in a coast phase. Even though the engines are not on, we are still coasting at a pretty fast pace, 27,000 kilometers per hour. And we are expecting Dragon separation just a few seconds from now.
Dragon separation confirmed.
And there is Dragon separated from the second stage. What a cool view. That is, if you've been following us, looks a lot different than our previous CRS missions. Dragon is carrying approximately 6,400 pounds of cargo to the International Space Station on this mission. A small portion of the cargo represents supplies for the astronauts, things like food and clothing, but most of the cargo represents science going up to the space station. The International Space Station serves as the world's leading laboratory for cutting-edge research and technology development that will enable human and robotic exploration of destinations beyond low Earth orbit, including the Moon and even Mars. The Dragon vehicle is just beginning its journey. It has about 26 hours before reaching the space station. The next major event is nose cone deploy, and that's where we expose the guidance, navigation, and control sensors and docking mechanisms. We won't be able to see that on camera, but we should be able to get confirmation of it. And we do have confirmation of nose cone deploy, and Dragon is now, there it is, Dragon is now on its way to the space station. Again, over the next 26 hours, Dragon will perform a series of orbital height adjustment maneuvers with its Draco engines until it's within a few kilometers of the International Space Station and begins its autonomous docking process. Dragon is set to dock at 1:30 p.m. Eastern tomorrow and remain at the space station for more than 30 days before returning to Earth with research and return cargo. And there you have it, our fifth and final Dragon flight of 2020. With that, that's going to do it for us here at SpaceX today. We had an on-time liftoff from Kennedy Space Center, successful stage separation. We landed our first stage for the 68th time and successfully deployed our upgraded Dragon vehicle into orbit. Today's mission also marked the 100th successful flight for Falcon 9. Dragon's arrival and docking to the space station will be streamed live starting tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. Eastern on NASA TV. Dragon will spend, again, about 5 weeks attached to the space station before returning to Earth with cargo and research. Keep an eye out for mission updates on NASA and SpaceX's social media accounts. We want to give a big thanks to the Range and Federal Aviation Administration for their support today. And of course, finally, thank you to everyone that has joined and tuned in for today's launch. Until next time, have a great rest of your weekend.